So returning now to the let's see, yeah. Okay, so we're turning now to the speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991, and he's mainly talking about the days of the week and the days of the month, the days of the week and the days of the month. The Rebbe, of course, was speaking on Shabbat, and it happened to be when the Rebbe was speaking, that Shabbat was the 10th day of Tammuz. Now, again, the month of Tammuz was a month which is connected very much with the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's when he was put into prison, and when he was sentenced to death, and miraculously he got out of prison. He was sent to exile, and then a couple of days later he went out to get out of exile. So this was a big victory over the powers of evil of communism, and eventually communism. The Rebbe claims that communism, because of this, the communism eventually fell or was transformed. And this happened on the 13th day. It's okay. So this year, just one second. I know I did this before, but I want to do it again. This year, the Shabbat, here the calendar, there we go, is on July. No. What's going on over here? Yeah. That's good. We're already in July. I didn't know that. May, June. Is that true? Yeah. It'll be okay. We're in July. I'm sorry, I just didn't know that. Okay. So now we are on today's the first day of July. I didn't say. Okay. So this year, the 9th day of Tammuz. It's one day different than it was when the Rebbe was speaking. One day different. It's one day earlier. Okay. But it's not important. What can we learn from the day of the week, and what can we learn from the day of the month? But day of the month. Now, first of all, from everything that happens, like we just finished learning, everything comes from God, everything. And even the bad things come from God. And the things which are neutral, apparently, obviously also come from God. And so we have to, by learning from them, a lesson about what is a Jew, what's the world, what is God, what does it mean to serve God, by learning from everything, so that elevates everything. The world has a purpose, and really everything has a message to teach us. Okay, so especially time, that's very important. So the days of the week and the days of the month. The days of the week, that's automatic. Automatic. There's 7 days of the week. No matter what we decide, no matter what that's the way it is. From the creation of the world, God created the world in 7 days, 6 days, and the seventh day he rested. As all over the world, pretty much everywhere in the world, there's this strange thing which is called the 7-day week. 7-day week. Because it's an automatic thing. It's automatic. Napoleon tried to change it. We tried to make a 10-day week, but it didn't work. I think there's still some people in France that still do it. But it didn't work. 7-day week. Okay, so that's automatic, which is not the case the days of the month. The days of the month, it used to be before until about, I don't know, 200 years after the second temple was destroyed. It used to be that people would see the moon, and they would run. If they saw the first sliver of the moon, then they would run to the high court, and they would testify. In Jerusalem, they would testify and say, "This I saw the moon," and the court, the high court, the Sanhedrin, would say, "The month has been sanctified." After the temple was destroyed, the Sanhedrin moved to different places. But okay, so the month could begin any one of 2 days. That's only a 2-day leeway, but those 2 days were decided by the people. Afterwards, it became difficult. There was no more Sanhedrin, so they codified. What did they say? Solidified the calendar. So the calendar always came out. Okay, but so now it's automatic. But anyway, it used to be, according to the Torah, and the way it's going to be in the days of the Moshiach, is that the months are going to be decided by the high court. So the days of the week are automatic. They're decided by God. And the days of the month are decided by the court. So the days of the week are in God's hands, and the days of the month are in our hands. Good. Well, like we said before, the 7 days of the creation, they were immediately from the beginning of creation, like it says in the beginning of the Torah, which is not the case sanctifying of the moon of the months. He is a mitzvah which is given to the Jewish people. That's the first commandment which was given to all of the Jewish people. Before the Jews got out of Egypt, God told Moses, "You're going to have to sanctify the months because the holidays depend on the months." Right? The Rishona b'Yetzias Mitzrayim. As soon as they got out of Egypt, that was the first commandment. Shazuhi tchilat avodat b'nei Yisrael. This is the beginning of the service of the Jewish people in the Torah and the commandments, which is above the creation. So the Jewish people brought the creation, the Creator, into the creation by means of the commandments. And the first commandment given to the Jewish people, they only were able to do it when they entered Israel. But the first commandment they were officially given was the commandment of sanctifying the months. Ubaruchni is spiritual. The days of what are we supposed to learn from this? The days of the week, that refers to the Seder HaBriah, the order of creation, kafi, according to how Shenivra b'Melu'o, how the world was created in its completion by means of God. Olam al Melu'o Nivra. The world was created complete, like a puzzle. All the pieces were there. Like it says, Elo toldos hashamayim va'oretz b'hibaram. These are the generations of the heaven and earth when they were created. Toldos moli. The word toldot is written with two vavs. Complete. The world was complete. That's how God created the world. And he saw everything he made, and it was very good. What do you mean it was very good? It was very good for man to come and just rearrange the pieces a little bit, and the world would be perfect. That's the days of the week. Yemei HaChodesh, but the days of the month, Kai, this refers to a hosafa of a chidush. It's called Chodesh. The word Chodesh also means to invent, to make something new. The Jewish people had to renew. Chodesh milashon chidush, to make something new, invent something. This is, man has to invent something, put something into the world. That's the idea of the month. So the days of the week, that's creation. That's just creation from God. And the days of the week, the days of the month, that's what man has to add on. Like it says, Asher Bora Elokim Lasot, that God created the world, Lasot, to do. What does it mean to do? To fix up. God created the world purposely, then man has to come and fix it up. Until man makes a completion in the whole creation. Like I said, the example of a puzzle, right? You have a puzzle, you have all the pieces. It's very good. The kids get I buy them a present. Here's a 50,000 piece puzzle. This is really nice. You look inside of the puzzle, and there's like 1 million pieces there. And the instructions say there's a 50,000 piece puzzle, but most of the pieces are not relevant to the puzzle. You have to ignore them and just find the relevant pieces and put them together. And that's the world. God created the world. It was a perfect world. Everything was there, ready to be made. As soon as you get rid of the bad pieces and put it together, ooh, this is good, right? Look what our son did, right? Look what little Joey did. But whoa, that's really good. Wow, there must be 1 million pieces. There used to be 1 million pieces. There's 50,000 pieces. I don't believe it. You put the whole thing together. That's our job, is to put the world together. That makes the world more complete than it was when it was created. It says, Shamayim chadashim ve'eretz chadasha. It's a new heavens and a new earth. That's what Moshiach is going to do. Also, it's going to make a new heavens and a new earth. What does it mean, new heavens? It's going to reveal a new unity, a new harmony in the world. That's what's going to be in the future redemption. When it'll be Eila told those parrots. It says then it's going to be the generations of parrots. Parrots was, of course, the progenitor. What do you call it? Of King David. King David, a part seed. King David. And King David, the Moshiach is going to come from King David, and he's going to really put the world into proper order. So we'll see godliness in every detail of the world. That's Yishai Holidat David. That's parrots, and eventually came from Yishai and gave to David. That's in the end of the book of Ruth. Toldot, it'll be filled. this will be even higher than the generations of heaven and earth. So when God created the world, he created it and it was very good. What do you mean very good? Potentially. Potentially. Man has to work in the world and to reveal the goodness of God in the world. And the source is chiluk, this difference between the days of the week. That's how God created it. And the days of the month, that's how we perfect it. Days of the month. It says, and this is the difference is these two levels of godliness. There's godliness, which is be'erech shabriya, godliness, which is relevant to the creation, umitlabeshet babriya, and is clothed in the creation. The creation is an amazing, amazing miracle. Every blade of grass, every wind that blows, incredible miracle. You could write poems about a little rock, a pebble on the shore. You could write poems from here until the end of time, right? A little time. The shape of it and the sound of it and the history of it and what the rock is telling us and what the rock is. There's a little rock. You know how many rocks there are? And then there's seashells and then there's animals and there's fish. Everything is such an amazing, amazing miracle. Everything in the world is a miracle. And that's nothing compared to the godliness, which is above the creation. That's what's called the new world that Moshiach is going to reveal in this physical world. And it depends on us. The Yesh Lom, we can say, She'inyan Zeh, that this Mishtakef is reflected, especially the Achiluk and the difference between the seventh day, Shabbat, and the 10th day of the month. The seventh day of that's when the Rebbe was speaking. The seventh day of the week and the 10th day of the month. These two numbers on the same day, right? By us, it's going to be this coming week. It'll be the 7th day, and it'll be the 9th day of the month. Okay, Shvi, the number 7. This indicates on the completion of the cycle of creation. The 7 days of creation, one full cycle. But that's why it really, really is very amazing. I mean, as far as I know, everywhere you go, maybe you can look it up. I really did not look it up. You know, after this class, I'll look it up. But I think everywhere in the world, they have a 7-day week, huh? You know, in these places, places that never even heard of the Torah. They never heard of the Torah. I was in China. They didn't know that they didn't Israel. I said, I come from Israel. Italy, yes, good soccer team. One place I said, Israel, Moshe Dayan. Moshe Dayan. That's what they know about Israel, right? Moshe, they won the 6-day war. Moshe Dayan. They don't know anything about the Torah. They never heard of such a thing. They don't know anything, right? These places in the Far East, billions of people we're talking about. They don't, and they have a 7-day week. Why do they have a 7-day week? Where did they get it from? Who knows, right? Settlers came there, right? What is it, Magellan or somebody? He came over there, or the Marco Polo, right? He came over there and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing? There's a 7-day week." I said, "Oh yeah, 7-day. We saw a 7-day. Good idea." What are you talking about? Somehow or other, it got into their bones. You have to do a 7-day week. I mean, look this up. Maybe I'm wrong over here, but as far as I know, that a 7-day week is something which was, just, for all time immemorial. People are keeping a 7-day week. Why are they doing it? Because somehow it's ingrained in the creation that there's a creator that made the world in 7 days. 7 days, that's the days of the cycle of creation. And the source, it comes from the 7 emotions of God from which the world was created. Because God could have created the whole world in one instant. Huh? Why does the Torah tell us that God took 7 days to create the world? That seems to imply that, he couldn't have done it any faster than that. He couldn't do it. I mean, he didn't have any helpers, right? So he had to do the whole entire thing himself with all the fish and everything. It's hard. So therefore, it took him 7 days. I mean, that's ridiculous. If God could create anything, so he could create everything. But he created in 1 second. Why did he have to schlep the thing out for 7 days for? And if so, why 7 days? Like all the scientists are saying, 7 days couldn't be. God could not have created this in 7 days. It makes no sense. Every day is like 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000,000 years. There was a time warp. There's, Einstein says that the speed of light is always the same, but the time is different. It depends which direction you're going. So therefore, when it says in the Torah day, it doesn't really mean a day. It means so. I mean, if you think about it for 1 second, that's just really ridiculous. Because if God could create anything, He could create everything. and it takes no time. God created time. So he created time, right? Time itself is a creation. So God could have created everything in one instant. Boop, that's it. The whole thing is ready. But he didn't. He created it in 7 days. Why did he create it in 7 days? Because that corresponds to what's called the makeup of God, if you want to call it, the 7 emotions of God. That's the 7 days. The first day was Chesed, the second day was Gevura, until the last day was Malchut. That's the 7th day. That's the Darga Elokut. This is the level of godliness, which in the creation, how the creation is in the world. The Asara, the Asara, and that's the days of the week. But the 10th day, the Rebbe it was the 10th day of the month of Tammuz when the Rebbe was speaking. The 10th day, this is attached to the level of godliness, which is above the world. This is the 10 Sfirot. This is the wise. How does the number of days of the month correspond to the 10 Sfirot? The 10, why? It says the days of the week, that corresponds to only the 7 aspects of God, the emotions. But the days of the month, that corresponds to all 10. Why? Because each one of those 10 Sfirot is included from what's called 3 aspects of intellect. Chachma, Bin, and Dat. That's the source of the world. The source of the world, the source of the 7 emotions, comes from intellect. So this is the Chachma, Bin, and Dat, the intellect of God. Each one has 10. Each one has 10. That's the 10 Sfirot, or the other way around. You could say the top of the 10 Sfirot, the top of each one of them is the 3. So however it is, it comes out to be 30. That's the days of the month. So the days of the week indicate God's intellect. The days of the week indicate God's emotions. And the days of the month, that indicate the essence of God, God's intellect, which is aroused by us. Gilui, the revelation of these 10 Sfirot of God, God which is above the world, this can only be aroused by the service of man. That's how God created it. That's how God created it. God's emotions he expressed when he created the world. But his intellect, his essence is aroused by man. Shemosif u'mechadesh, the creation in the 7 emotions, at Hamashacha, the Gimel Mochim, that's the level of the intellect. Kach naseh shlemot hagilui d'asara. Then there's the whole revelation of the 10. Nosef al gilui, in addition to the 7 emotions, etc. Maybe I can give you an example. I'm making this up, so you can take this with a big grain of salt. Just popped into my mind. Just think. Let's say you have a painter, a great painter, right? A great famous painter, right? Picasso, a painter, right? And everybody hates what he does. But he presents his stuff and they say, that is just terrible. Come on, Pablo, maybe learn to be a doctor or a lawyer, but you're a terrible painter, right? If nobody appreciates what he does, then eventually he'll stop. There's exceptions. They say Van Gogh didn't care about anybody, but he was not 100%, there. He never sold a picture. But generally speaking, the reaction you get affects your essence more than what you do. Your output is determined to a great degree by the reaction of people, in general. So everyone tells you can't sing, so you'll come to believe you can't sing. Right? Until someone comes along and says, you have just a different voice, or someone comes to Picasso, I'm just making this up, Picasso, and says, listen, they don't like you because they don't understand you. You are a big genius. He gets encouragement. Nothing like encouragement. Right? Nothing like encouragement. That's why we said in the beginning of the classes, even saying good morning to people, right? Encouragement that brings out all of the emotions, all the potential of the person. So that's the same thing. We're talking about God here. God creates the world, but God wants encouragement. God wants us to say our input, that we take the world and we improve it. We use the world, and that arouses God's essence. So God created the world. This is what Judaism says. God created the world in 7 days. The last thing he put into the world was man, and that's in order to arouse the essence of God, something higher than what was aroused in the creation. Uba'avodat Adam, in the service of man, it says, Al Tatzer al Moav. It says, there's a sentence that says, don't lay siege to Moab. What does it mean? It explains in Hasidut that nowadays the Jewish people have been given only 7 lands of from the 10 that God promised Abraham. Okay, we have 7 and 10 again, right? Cave and Sheikar Avodah now in the time of exile is to refine and to clarify the 7 emotions in ourselves and also in God. That's why we only got the 7 lands. That's Avodah, the Gimel Mochin, but serving God with the 3 levels of awareness, Chachma, Bina, Dat. This is only in order to clarify the emotions, just like we finished learning, right? How we react to the world, etc. But in the Gula Mitit V'Shlema, when Moshiach comes, then Yinatnu Kol Eser Artzot, the Jewish people will receive all 10 lands, the Kini and the Kenizi and the Kadmoni. That corresponds to Moab and Edom and Ammon, I think, Ammon. Kavan since Sha'az, then Tiyeh Avodat Hashem, the service of God will be complete. Then will be the service also with the 3 levels of intellect themselves. We won't be serving God so much from emotion as we will from awareness. Ad Shlemos the Elo told those spirits, Shalamayla me Ela told us the Shamayim Ba'oretz Behiboram, which will be above the entire creation. So our service will not be so much to fix up the world, it'll be to bring godliness into the world. Godliness into the world. It's maybe I'm making this up again. I don't know why I'm doing this, but let's say that wars were only fought by generals. They weren't fought by foot soldiers or by planes or destroying things, only by generals. The generals would meet in a room and they would use their intellect. This general would explain something and that general would explain something until finally, by intellect, right, one side would say, okay, you're right, I'm wrong. We surrender. And no one would get killed. There wouldn't be any blood and there wouldn't be any, the fury and all these things wouldn't be, right? That's a different type of a battle. That's something like what's going to be in the days of the Moshiach. Nowadays, we have to get involved in the world. We have to fight physical battles. We have to fight battles with our emotions and against our lusts and against our anger and against our depression and against this. And the future won't be that way. In the future, it'll be just using our mind. Wrong ideas that come into our mind, we'll say, oh, no, that's a bad idea. I don't want that idea. Right? Maybe, no, I don't want that idea. It'll be the mind will be connected to the Creator. And the emotions will be automatic. Then that's what's going to be in the days of the Moshiach. And therefore, the connection between these 2 things of 7 days of the week and 10 days of the month. So again, the days of the week is what God does, and the days of the month are what we do. We improve the creation. 7 is the emotions, 10 is like the intellect. They are attached to the fact that the creation itself has 2 levels. What are the 2 levels of creation? In the written Torah, it says that the world was created in 7 days. That's what it says in the Torah. But in Torah Shebal Peh, but in the oral Torah, which that's an integral part of the Torah. You can't have the written Torah without the explanation of the Torah. That's the Torah, the Pirusha Nidna. When Moses received the Torah, he received the Torah with all of its explanations. But there it says, what does it say in Pirkei Avot? We learn Pirkei Avot. It says, Ba'asara mamorot nivra olam, that God created the world with 10 utterances. Right? If you look in the beginning of creation, where it says, Vayomer Hashem Yeor, Vayomer Hashem Yerakia, Vayomer. It says that God says Vayomer 10 times. Count it. 10, count it. If you count it, you'll find there's only 9. There's not 10 times. So the Gemara says, hey, it only says 9. It says, Breshit Nami Maimaru. It says the first word is also Maimaru. That comes from the oral Torah. That comes from the explanation of the rabbis. And so the rabbis tell us that there's 10 utterances. That's also written in Pirkei Avot. Right, that's what we learn in Pirkei Avot. This is which chapter of Pirkei Avot 39? The 5th chapter of Pirkei Avot. We learned this week. 10 utterances. So the Torah says God created the world in 7 days, but the oral Torah reminds us the world was created in the course of these 7 days. God used 10 utterances. The Yeshlomo, we can say, Shazem Matin, this is also fits in well with the difference between the written Torah and the oral Torah. Like we said, the difference between the number 7 and 10. Torah Shebechtav, the written Torah, was given above by God. Then it's not relevant that a person can add or take away even one letter, God forbid. The written Torah is exact. Why? This is a level of godliness which is drawn down from above to below. Shleimut Abriya, this is like the creation when it was made on the 7th day. Everything was complete. But God put man in the world. This gives power. The Avoda, the Birur, Shavamidos, this gives power to that God created the world that we can refine our 7 emotions, revealing godliness in and commensurate with the world. But then there's the oral Torah. The oral Torah, this is revealed, the majority of it, by means of service and hard work of the great men of the Talmud. It says that almost everyone in the Talmud, at least the Tanaim, they had the power to raise the dead. But they didn't reveal things in the Torah above. God appeared to me in the nighttime and he said like this. They didn't do that. They had arguments, and all the arguments are written down. The arguments of the Chachmei Yisrael, of the wise men of Israel, in the course of all the generations, that they said things according to their opinion in one of the principles that the Torah is, I'd say, interpreted by. Osha assume saig the Torah, or they made a fence around the Torah. Whatever it is, by means of the rabbis, that they made new laws and new details, or they explain new details in the 613 commandments. And therefore, the main stress is the 10 utterances that God created the world with. That's the Talmud. Utterances, 10. What the rabbis say, Torah Shebal Peh, utterances. Mitzad, Avoda, Lamata, this is because of the service from below in the Torah. In the world, we can see number 10 in the creation. And this gives the power to the service of to fix up the world. So the number 7, that's relevant to the written Torah that was given by God, and man doesn't have any hand in that. That's just a gift from God, and we have to know that God helps us, and God begins it, God creates us, but God creates us and helps us, but we have to do the work. That's why God is creating us. And when we do the work, God will help us. It says that's the number 10. That's the 10 utterances that God created in order, what it says, created the world with. That's what it means, that God created the world, lasot, to fix up. The Paul Hosafa, to add on and to make something new in the world. Gila, that's the revelation of the number 10. That's going to be the 10 lands that Moshiach is going to bring to Israel. Now we only have 7. He's going to bring it into the world until it will be told those parrots, and we'll have what's called a new world. And that's what it means. There's going to be a new Torah. What does it mean, new? The world is not going to change. The laws of nature aren't going to change. And the letters of the Torah aren't going to change. And the laws aren't going to change. But we'll see the godliness in it. We'll see the godliness in it. And that's going to be the number 10. That's our job to do. So we have what God does and what we do. That's what's hinted at by the day of the week and the day of the month, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow.